Hi everyone! Welcome to Xcoding with Albion. In this video, we're going to add Google PaLMChat Large Language Model Chatbot integration to the existing ChatGPT SwiftUI multi-platform application. At the recent Google I/O 2023 event, Google announced PaLM2, a next-generation state-of-the-art large language model with improved multilingual reasoning and coding capabilities. It really excels at advanced reasoning tasks, including code and math, classification and question answering, translation, and multilingual proficiency. PaLM is also the LLM powering Bard, which is Google's official public chatbot similar to the OpenAI's ChatGPT. Currently, PaLM API is in public preview and only accessible in the US region. You can register for the waitlist to be able to create an API key that can be used in your own application. So, instead of building a separate application for using PaLM API, we will extend our existing app and let users of our app select one of the large language model, whether it's OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Google PaLM2. The user will be able to bring their own API key and provide additional configuration, such as using GPT 3.5 or GPT-4 when using ChatGPT as the provider. We will reuse the same chat list UI and the observable object view model by introducing a base interface or protocol with common APIs for providing prompt and receiving response. With this, our app should be able to scale without any refactoring in the future. Let's say in case a new LLM provider will be introduced in the near future. Okay, so that's it for the short introduction, and without further ado, let's begin and start coding. Okay, so let's begin by navigating to this GitHub repository, ChatGPT SwiftUI repo. This is the existing app that we have built so far. And basically, we're going to add the PaLM Chat LLM provider to this existing SwiftUI app. Okay, so in here, select this and select text here and select this add PaLM Chat LLM provider as the tag. And then basically, you can just simply click out and then download the zip to your computer. So I've already downloaded the zip to my computer and already opened the project in Xcode. So this is our starter project. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to do is, as we are still going to support the OpenAI ChatGPT as one of the LLM provider that the user can use, I'm going to also add a feature where the user can select the GPT model, whether it's GPT 3.5 Turbo or the latest GPT-4. So let's do it by navigating to the ChatGPT API models, okay, this Swift file, and let's declare enum at the top. Let's give it a name ChatGPT model and make the type as string, make it conform to the identifiable and case iterable. We're going to show this in the segmented picture control later, so the user can select from one of these when they select OpenAI ChatGPT as the LLM provider. Let's provide the ID for the identifiable, and the type is self. Let's just return self instance. And next one, let's provide the cases. There are two cases. First one is GPT-3 Turbo. Let's provide our raw value of GPT-3.5-Turbo. Okay. And second cases is the GPT-4, GPT-4. We're going to pass this raw value to the ChatGPT API client later. Okay, and then let's provide a text string which you will show in the segmented picker. Okay, let's provide a switch self. Nice completion from Xcode, and let's provide a GPT 3.5 for the GPT Turbo case, and for the GPT-4, we're going to use GPT-4. Okay, now we have the ChatGPT model, which will be used by the OpenAI LLM provider later. Next, let's create a folder. Inside this shared folder, we're going to put all the LLM provider specific source files inside this folder. Okay, let's give it a name of LLM provider. Okay, and then inside this LLM provider folder, let's create a Swift file and give the name of LLM provider.swift, and make sure all the targets are selected for all the platforms, right? Because we are going to support all platforms. Okay, great. We have the LLM provider.swift, and first let's create an enum, give it a name of LLM provider, and make it conform to identifiable first and then the case iterable. We're going to have two cases in here. First one is ChatGPT, okay, and second one is PaLM, okay, which is going to be the PaLM API. And for the identifiable, let's make a var ID, compute property, the type of self, and just return self as the value. Okay, let's build first. Okay, build succeeded. Next one is let's create a compute property text with the type of string. We're going to show this later in the UI. Let's switch on the self. And the first case is ChatGPT. And here, let's return OpenAI ChatGPT as the text. Second one is PaLM. Here we're going to return Google PA with the lowercase and then LM with the capital case, uppercase. Okay, that's the text computed property. Next one, I'm going to also create a compute property for the footer information that we're going to show as well in the UI. Okay, I'm going to give the name of footer info with the type of string. Let's switch on the self. First one is the ChatGPT. Okay, in here I'm going to copy the description from the completed project that you can also check. I provided the link to the completed project as well at the description below. Okay, so you can just copy this snippet. Okay, so this is using the multi-line literal string. Okay, first let me fix the indentation. The indentation should be like this actually. Okay, and second one is the PaLM. Here I'm going to return a multi-line literal string as well. Let me copy and paste. Okay, we have it. Let's make sure there is no compilation error. Okay, the build succeeded. Nice. Let's remove these new lines. And there are two compute properties that we're going to add. Then it's going to be navigation title with type of string. We're going to show this as the navigation title when the user select this LLM provider. Let's use switch self ChatGPT. Here I'm going to return XCASets. You can use any name that you want, maybe for using your own branding. Okay. And for the PaLM, I'm going to use XCAPA lower and then LM uppercase chat, XCA PaLM chat. Nice, right? And next one, I'm going to also create a var image name, which contain the assets name for the chatbot image that we're going to show, that is going to be shown in the message row. Okay, using switch again. First one is ChatGPT. Here we're going to just return OpenAI. And second one is PaLM. I'm going to return PaLM. Okay, so those image, we're going to put this inside the XCAssets letter for each of the platform. Okay, we're going to add the PaLM image there. Let's do that later. Okay, let's clean up a bit here and let's build. Okay, the build succeeded. So next, let's create a new Swift file and give it a name of LLMClient.swift. Make sure all targets are selected in here. Okay, and here I'm going to create a protocol, an interface with the name of LLM client. So the idea behind this protocol is basically we want to encapsulate the common APIs that is going to be used by the chatbot client, whether it's the ChatGPT API or the PaLM Chat API. Okay, so if you see in the ViewModel, we have this API, right? So basically the idea is we're going to abstract this behind a common interface, which is going to be the LLM client, and then the ChatGPT API itself will conform to that LLM client, and then later we're going to call a PaLM client API that is also going to depend on that, conform to that LLM client protocol. So later, we're going to inject the LLM client to this ViewModel based on the selection of the LLM provider by the user in the landing page. Okay, so with that, we're not going to make additional modification to this current API. Okay, basically this will, each of the concrete implementation will provide the implementation to call OpenAI API or the Google PaLM API. Okay, you will understand better later when we implement this. Okay, so first let's just declare the common interface protocol LLM client. Okay, the first thing that we're going to declare in here is the property provider, the type of LLM provider. So we're going to make this only as gettable, so it won't be settable by the user of this protocol. Okay, and the next one is basically we are going to mimic this ChatGPT API method. Okay, so here, if you see, we have the send message stream, we have the send message methods. Okay, and we also have this delete history release. So basically, this is three are currently being used in the ViewModel, and those are the three methods that we are going to use as well. Okay, so with that, we don't need to change anything in the ViewModel. So basically in here, the LLM client, I'm going to go to this ChatGPT API, copy delete history list. Okay, and next one is send message, this one, let's copy. And the last one is the send message stream. Okay, okay, this looks good. Nice, we have all of these common three APIs that can be used by the ViewModel or observable object. Okay, let's build first. Okay, okay, now we have the LLM client protocol. Now let's navigate to the ChatGPT API class, and then in here we can simply make this conform to the LLM client. Okay, so it already implemented all the three methods, but there is still one property that we need to add, which is the provider. And then in here we can simply return the enum case of ChatGPT. Okay, nice. Okay, now this ChatGPT API is conforms to LLM client protocol. Okay, next one, we are going to basically create the PaLM Chat API as well. But we are going to as you can see in here, we are making the HTTP call ourselves using the URL session. But actually, Google has also released this generative AI Swift SPM package that we can basically use, integrate that into our project using SPM. In here, basically we can simply just provide the API key. So this is very similar to the ChatGPT API, but currently it doesn't support streaming. Okay, so we need to wait for the full entire response before it can be displayed to the user, as it doesn't support streaming response as of now. Okay, so I'll provide the link to this GitHub SPM that you can actually check the description. So copy this, and first we need to add this as the dependencies to our app. So navigate to this project settings, select XCASets in here, select package dependencies, and then click this plus button and just paste this uh, GitHub URL and then just add it. Okay, it finished resolving all the dependencies, and then just click add package in here. Okay, as you can see here, inside this XCI ChatGPT target, we can see this Google Generative AI is added here successfully. But as you know that we are going to support all the platforms, we need to also check for the Mac. So as you can see, it is not added to the Mac target. So let's add this by clicking that plus button and then select the search for generative. Okay, this and then select this Google Generative AI. Okay, it is added for the Mac. And for the watch, select this one with the circle icon. Okay, click this plus in the frameworks and then select Google Generative AI. And finally, for the tvOS target, scroll down to this frameworks section and then click plus and then select Google Generative AI. Okay, let's just build to make sure everything works. Okay, the build succeeded. So now let's click on this LLM provider folder and let's create a new Swift file. Okay, give it a name of PaLM Chat API. Okay, make sure all the checkbox for the targets are selected. Okay, PaLM Chat API. Let's Swift. So let's import Google Generative AI, and then let's create a class, give it a name of PaLM Chat API. And don't forget, we need to make sure this conforms to the LLM client interface. Okay, so in here it needs to conform to the LLM client. First, let's just declare a provider, and with the type of LLM provider here, let's just return the PaLM case. And so we have this send message text, send message stream, and the lat history list. Okay. Okay. So as you know that the Google Generative AI for the PaLM client does not support stream response as of now. So basically in the send message stream body, let's just declare a fatal error with the message of not supported. Okay, so when the user calls this, it will just crash the app. Okay. And next one is, let's declare several properties first. The first one is private. Let's make it private. Let PaLM client. Okay. Here we're going to use the generative language. This API is provided by the Google Generative AI SPM. And next one is private var history. Okay. So in here, let's just declare an array. Let's use the Google Generative AI dot message. Okay. And next, let's create a init that accept a parameter of API key with the type of string. Here we can simply initialize the generative language passing the API key. Okay, let's build. Okay, and so let's implement the send message using that. So let's basically declare response, try, await, PaLM client, and then invoke chat. Okay. So actually here we can also pass the history containing the message. So it is going to be able to be aware of the previous conversations. Okay, let's use this, and now let's just pass the text to the message parameter and also pass the history array from the property or instance property. Okay, so we got the response. Now let's just declare if let candidate response dot candidates dot first and let response text candidate dot content. Okay. So in this case, we're going to basically return the response text. And let's create an else, and then let's just throw an error. No response. Okay. So we need to also append the response to the history array. So to do that, we can simply declare this historic if let historic message, and we can get the message array from the response itself. And let's set the self.history to this historic message array. And let's also append the latest one, which is the candidate, okay, to the history array. Okay, I think that is for the send message. And for the delete history list, as simple as just setting the history property to a new empty array. Okay, that is for the PaLM Chat API. This will basically connect to the Google PaLM2 API to initiate the chat, passing the prompt and the previous history for the conversation context. Okay, that is it for the PaLM Chat API implementation. Nice. Okay, so we have the PaLM Chat API. Now, before we create the UI for the LLM provider selection and configuration that will be shown when the user launches the app, let's create a helper model that will help us later. Inside this LLM provider folder, let's create a LLMConfig.swift. Make sure all targets are selected. In here, let's declare a struct LLMConfig and make it conform to the hashable. So basically, this will contain the API key that the user will input to the text field. Okay, and let's also declare an enum. Give it the name of config type. Make it conform to the hashable protocol. Here we have ChatGPT and we have PaLM. You might be wondering why I don't just use the LLM provider enum. They are the same, but remember, for the ChatGPT, we're going to add support where the user can select whether to use GPT 3.5 Turbo or GPT-4. So in here, I'm going to add an associated value of ChatGPT model. Okay. So that is the config type. Let's declare an add type with a type of config type as well. And I also want to make this conform to the identifiable protocol var ID with the type of string to type. And here I'm just going to use the API key as the ID. Okay. So basically this identifiable will be used to present the screen when the user press the submit button to start the LLM chat based on what the provider selection. Okay, that is the implementation for the LLM config. Now let's navigate to the view model observable object that is used by the chat list view. Okay, and here, as you remember, we have implemented the LLM client protocol, which we are going to use now in here instead of this concrete ChatGPT API that will connect to the OpenAI. So we are going to make it abstract using this LLM client. Okay, and basically in here in the initializer, let's replace this ChatGPT API with the LLM client. Okay, let's build. As you can see, the build succeeded, right? There is no error because they are using the common APIs, as you can see here when it invokes the API call. Okay, so basically all of this method doesn't know whether it's calling the OpenAI or the Google PaLM API. Okay, and basically in the future, if there is new LLM large language model chatbot release, we can simply just create the implementation and make it conform to the LLM client as well. So basically we have make our app scalable without any major factor in the future. Okay, nice. Okay, so as you know that the PaLM API client does not support streaming response, and as you can see currently we are using the streaming response for all the send message in here. So basically we need to handle that specifically for the when the LLM client provider is PaLM. Okay, so let's make that adjustment in here. But before that, let me declare another var, complete var navigation title that will be shown in the landing page LLM provider selection string, and then here let's just give it a title of XCALM Chatbot. Okay, so as you know, our app is not ChatGPT anymore, it's a LLM Chatbot, which will basically support all the LLM providers, public LLM providers that we can use in the future, now and the future. Okay, that is the navigation title. Next is let's declare another method in here basically where we're going to give the name of update client that accept a client of LLM client. So basically the idea is the user can switch between the LLM provider and let's say they select the OpenAI ChatGPT and they want to switch to the Google PaLM, they can basically do it. And we are going to use the same instance, this ViewModel, okay, as this is declared at the root level as the state object. So we need to make sure this API can be switched, okay, when the user switch the LLM provider. Okay, let's make this var so it can be updated. So this update client, we can simply just set the message array to empty array and set the API to basically the client. Okay, we have the update client in here. Now let's handle for the non-streaming response. As you can see, we currently have two send methods, right? The first one is the send attributed, and the second one is the send. The difference is the send attributed is using the markdown attributed string, so it can display the markdown response, such as the code block or any other markdown syntax. And this one is the send text that is just showing the raw text. Okay. And currently, I know only the iOS target support the markdown string attributed parser, but I haven't got the time actually to add that support to the other platforms such as macOS, watchOS, and tvOS, but I will do it later in the next video, okay? But for now, let's just create another method in here. Let me copy this. So the idea is we want this using the streaming interface. Okay, so let's just give it a name of send without stream. Okay, so in here we can simply declare is interacting with ChatGPT to true. Okay, as we are beginning the interaction. Actually, we need to rename this, right? Because it's not just interacting with the ChatGPT, it's interacting with the. So rather than doing that, let me just use this Xcode refactor rename, and then wow, there are so many updates, right? So let's just use this refactor, and then let's change this to is interacting. Okay, let's rename. Nice. It basically find all the variables and update it for us with the new name. Okay, let's build. It failed. Oh, I see. So the issue is because of this message row also got updated with the is interacting, but actually in here we haven't updated this. Okay, so this message row as well. Let's just basically refactor this. Okay, and then just use this interacting as well. Okay. Okay, let's build. Now the build succeeded. Okay, so we have updated all the is interacting with ChatGPT property name as our app now. Basically, you can use any other LLM provider as long as it conforms to the LLM client interface. Okay, so let's continue with the send without stream. We got a bit distracted with that refactoring. Now let's just declare the message row. Let me just copy this, paste. Okay, and remember we don't have the stream text, so let's just pass a empty string in here, and then let's append the message to the message array, the message row, and let me declare do try catch here. In case it fails, assign the response error with the error that localized description. And let me just copy this, all of this, paste this, and in the do, let's just declare response text and invoke try await APIs on message, and then pass the text, the prompt, and let's also check for the task check cancellation. Okay, for the cooperative cancellation, and set the message row that responds to raw text of the response text. Okay, this is for the sorry, I think let's update this. So this is for the send without stream. Okay, so this basically will send the text without the streaming API, and it just show this as the raw text without the attributed string. So next one is I'm going to copy this and attribute it inside this tvOS macro, tvOS iOS, and then above the and if, let me declare this send and update the name of send attributed without stream. Okay. So let me copy the body from the send without stream first and make some adjustment. Okay, most of it will be the same, but the difference is here inside this send attributed without stream. Before we assign this message row the response, we're going to add the parsing, just grab parsing task, then invoke the response parsing task. So this is the task that will be responsible for parsing to the attributed string, the markdown syntax, and then declare an output. Let invoke await parsing task dot parse and parsing the response text. Okay, let's check for the cancellation as well after the await to the output, and then basically just append the message row with response with the attributed case and passing the output. Okay, I think as simple as that. So now we have this attributed with a stream as well. Next one is I'm going to update this OpenAI, okay, for the response image with the provider image name property. So just find and replace this OpenAI with API.provider.image name, okay, and then it find 4 matches and then replace all. Nice. Okay, now let's update this. There are 2 methods that we need to update as well in here based on the provider type. So the first one is send tab. Okay, so basically in here we need to check if the API.provider is equal to the ChatGPT. We're just going to use this send attributed, so that is the one with stream. Else we just invoke send without send attributed without stream passing the text. And then in the else block for all the other platforms, they currently doesn't support attributed output. We're just going to check is if every provider is ChatGPT. Just use the sans text, which is the stream interface. Other than that, let's just use send without stream, passing the text. Okay, that is for the send tab. And next one is the further try in here. Let's also check if the API.provider is ChatGPT. Let's use this current one, attributed. Else, let's use the send attributed without stream passing message.send text. And for the else, all the other platforms, same. If API provider is equal to the ChatGPT, just send the text using the streaming interface. Else, send without stream passing message.send text. Okay, I think that's all the updates that we need to make for this view model. Other than that, it should work as expected. You just need to pass the appropriate LLM client based on the user selection from the LLM provider selection view. Actually, there is some mistake in here. Basically, we will have two properties. One is for the title. Okay, so this title will be shown inside the LLM provider selection. That will be the landing page when the user launches the app. And the second one that will be shown in the chat list based on the LLM client selection. Okay, in here we can simply use the API.provider.navigation title. So it's going to be XCASSets or XCAPaLMChat based on this LLM client.provider type. Okay, that's it for the view model. Okay, now we can move on to implement the user interface for the LLM provider selection, the landing page. But before that, I want to make sure I update all the assets to show the PaLM image. It's going to be PaLM. First one is the ChatGPT, which is the iOS target. So I already got the PaLM API image from Google. Okay, just find in the Google search. So let's offer all the targets. So now inside the shared folder, create a new SwiftUI view and give it a name of LLMConfigView. Okay, make sure all targets are checked. Okay, and here we have this LLMConfigView. First, we're going to declare a lab here, which is a closure when the user tap on the start chat button. We are going to invoke this, and basically this is a closure with the parameter of result, which is LLMConfig, that we will pass, and the return type is void. Okay, so we will pass this result back when the user tap on start chat button. And for this LLMConfigView, let's just initialize this in the preview. And also in the preview, I want to declare a navigation stack and put the LLMConfigView inside that navigation stack. Okay, let's just resume the preview now. Okay, there's our preview. So let's declare three states. First one is API key that the user will type, and second one is the LLM provider enum, it's provided the full value of ChatGPT, and third one is ChatGPT model specific for the ChatGPT LLM provider. Here it's going to be ChatGPT model dot GPT-3 turbo for the default value. Okay, we declare all the three states. Next, let's declare a var sections view. Okay, this will contain all the section inside the list. Okay, so let me just return an empty view for now. So in the body, basically for the macOS, we're going to declare a macro. For the macOS, we're going to basically use scroll view instead of list. Okay, and we're going to add a padding of horizontal, and here I'm going to just declare the section view, and for the other targets I'm going to use list. Okay, sections view. Let's make it the same here. Okay, now we just need to implement the sections view. Okay, for the sections view, let's declare a first section, and let's give it a title of LLM provider for the header. In here, let's declare a picker and give it a label of provider, and for the selection, just pass the binding of the LLM provider state, and then inside the picker closure, let's declare a for each passing LLM provider dot all cases. Remember that all LLM provider enum conforms to the cases variable, and in here let's just declare a text passing the text of the LLM provider, and let's pass the ID of the LLM provider itself so it can be binded to the selection. Okay, let me build. Okay, there we have the provider, and as we know that in the watchOS there is no segmented picker style, so we're going to add a if OS is not watchOS, we're going to add a picker style of segmented. Okay, so all the other targets will use the segmented style, but on watchOS we will just use the default segmented default picker style, as watchOS doesn't provide the segmented picker style. Okay, there you go. The LLM provider segmented picker is the first section. Now let's move on to the second section. Let's cross section. Give it a name of configuration as the header title. And here, let's declare a text field. Let's provide a placeholder of enter API key. And for the binding, let's bind it to the API key state. And let's add server modifier. Let's disable the autocorrection. And let's add a macro in here. If the OS is macOS, and else, and if. Okay, so if the OS is macOS, let's add the text case none. So this will disable the auto capitalization, and the text field style, let's set it to rounded border on the macOS. Next one is all the other targets. Let's use this text input capitalization modifier. This is actually not available in the macOS. Okay, that's why we use this macro. Okay, let's just make it never, so it doesn't auto-capitalize the API key. Okay, let's resume. Let's look at the preview. Okay, now we have that. And now, below this text field, remember that if the LLM provider equal to the ChatGPT, the user should be able to select the ChatGPT model. In here, we can simply declare a picker, pass the model, and let's pass the binding of the ChatGPT model state, and then declare a for each passing ChatGPT model enum all cases, and then let's show the text using the text property, and let's set the ID to the actual instance. Okay, and let's use the same. We're going to show the segmented picker style for the targets other than the watchOS. Okay, it's good. Let me select Google PaLM. If you have select Google PaLM, it doesn't show the segmented picker, only the ChatGPT LLM provider. Nice. Okay, let's move on to the last section. Okay, section 3. So here is the cross section, and in here I want to use the header title, and let's declare a button inside the section. Give the name of start chat as the title, and in the closure, so basically we need to invoke the onStartChat tab and pass the LLM config. But we need to basically declare a config, let config type, and based on the current selected LLM provider, whether it's ChatGPT or PaLM. For ChatGPT, let's declare a config, and let's initialize the ChatGPT passing the model, which is we can get from the ChatGPT model state. Okay, and for the PaLM, we can simply assign it with the PaLM case. Okay, now we have the LLM config. Now we can simply basically invoke self.onStartChat tab, and then pass the LLM config, initializing it, passing the API key state and the config. Okay. Okay, I think for better naming, probably this should be type instead of config. It's a bit confusing to use config. Okay, type. Okay, that is for the start chat. Okay, so basically in here I'm going to add a modifier specific to macOS. For macOS, I'm going to use the button style of bordered prominent. Okay, and then and if let's add a frame. Next width, let's pass infinity. So this will make it center align, I think. Okay, looks nice. And let's also disable the button in case the API key trimming characters in white space and new lines is empty. So this will only be enabled if the API key is not empty. Okay. So if you see in here, when we run, we cannot click on the start chat, but when we fill the API key, it will get enabled. So the user can tap. Nice. And now let's add a footer in here. For the footer, we can basically just initialize the LLM provider dot footer info. Okay. Wow, this looks nice. Let's also add a padding, vertical padding. Ah, this is nice. Love it. So this is for the iOS target, and this will basically scale. And it will be also can be used in the macOS, watchOS, and tvOS. We will see that in the preview later when we update the entry point of the app to use this LLMConfigView. Okay, now let's begin from the iOS target first. Let's update the entry point. And now navigate to this XCI ChatGPT and select XCI ChatGPT app.swift. So this is the entry point for the iOS target. First thing that we are going to do is to basically declare this state var and give it a name of LLMconfig. And let's just provide it, declare it as LLMconfig optional with the default value of nil. Okay. And basically the idea is we are going to present this content view, this navigation stack content view, inside a full screen sheet binded by the LLM config stat. Okay, so here let's just declare this first full screen cover item and then pass the LLM config as the state. Why it's giving me this syntax? I want to use trailing closure. Okay, config in, and let me basically cut this, paste, and this tokenizer, let's move this inside. Okay, this navigation stack, and here at the root I'm going to declare another navigation stack. Okay, in here I'm going to basically use the LLM config view, declare it, and use the on start chat tab. Pass this, so that is the closure that will be invoked when the user tap on the start chat button, and it will provide us with the LLM config. First, let's assign the result to the LLM config state. And don't forget that we need to update the ViewModel client based on the LLM provider selection by the user. Okay, so we need to have this client. So let's navigate to the LLMconfig.swift, and inside here, let's create a func create client, and it will give us the LLM client interface based on the type selection in here. So basically we can just use self.type. In case of ChatGPT, let's grab the associated value, the ChatGPT model. Here we can just initialize ChatGPT API, passing the API key, which is this let. And here we can now pass the model, which we can use the associated value model dot raw value. Okay, so we return it. And for the PaLM, we can initialize PaLM chat API, passing the API key. Okay, we have the accurate client for the LLM config struct. Here, this result itself is the LLM config, right? So maybe we can give it the name of config, and then invoke config.createClient. And in here, this is config as well. Okay, the build succeeded. Oh, before I forget, let me add this navigation title, and let's pass ViewModel dot title. Okay, this will show the XCALM chatbot. But before we run this in the simulator, there are some modification that we need to make. So basically, I want to change the location of the toolbar items. Let me declare a toolbar item group using displacement. I'm going to put this in the navigation bar trailing. So we will basically have the tokenizer and the clear button there. But remember, this tokenizer only works for the OpenAI ChatGPT. Okay, it doesn't support the PaLM tokenization. So for this, let's basically check if CASLET ChatGPT equal to the LLMConfig.type. We will basically cut this button tokenizer and then put it inside that if CASLET. And below this if CASLET, I'm going to cut this clear button. This will clear the chat list. I'm going to add a role destructive while we are working on this because I forgot it previously. Okay, and then here we have the toolbar item navigation bar leading. Okay, I think here it suggests us to just remove the lab because we are not accessing the associated value. So for the navigation bar leading, I'm going to declare a button with the role action label with the title role action. I think here I'm going to give it a title of switch LLM role, the structure as well. And in the action, we basically just set the LLM config binding to nil. Okay, so when we set this to nil, we'll basically dismiss this full screen cover presentation. Okay, I think that's all for this iOS target. Now let me try to build first. Okay, the build succeeded. But before we run it, I want to also make several adjustments while we are working on this. Let's go to the content view. This is the chat list view. Okay, so basically in this send message, I want to disable autocorrection. I don't want autocorrection to be enabled. Okay, I think this is not the correct modifier. I think this one, autocorrection disable. Okay, let me run this. Okay, let me just close the preview and let me bring the simulator beside this window. Okay, there you go, or the LLM config view as the initial screen. So before we test the PaLM chat, you need to basically register for the PaLM API. So this is the page. I provide the link in the description. You need to join the waitlist and to be able to generate the API key. So if you have already registered to this and have access, you can just go to the Maker Suite dashboard and then create the API key. I've already created my API key, so basically I'm going to use it for this video. Let me copy and paste my API key. Select Google PaLM, and then I'm going to paste. Okay, there's my API key. And as you know, let's just see the OpenAI ChatGPT. It shows us this speaker for selecting the model 3.5 or GPT-4. But now let's just test the PaLM chat. Okay, now let's click on Start Chat. Okay, it still shows XCI ChatGPT. Let's fix this as well. Let's go to the, let me see, is it inside the XCI ChatGPT app.swift? Okay, so inside this content view, we should have the navigation title. Let's update this to use the ViewModel.navigation title. Okay. Okay, Now let's Command V, Epic key, select Google Palm, start chat again. Nice, it shows the correct title now, XCAssets Palm Chat. Let's say hello first, hello. Okay, there is it, the answer from the Palm API. So let's ask a coding question. Show me Dijkstra in Rust. Okay, so it doesn't support the streaming response, so we need to wait for the full text and then receive the response in one go. There you go. There is the response. Nice, right? So it shows the code highlighting, Markdown as well. That's highlighting for Rust. Sure, here's an implementation of Dijkstra algorithm in Rust. Nice. So it does actually works. And I think you can also ask more mathematical question, medical question, law questions to the Palm API. It is actually quite good when I'm chatting with it. So there you go. We have implemented the iOS target. Let's move on to the next target. Let me just stop this and let me close the simulator. Now let's navigate to the XCA ChatGPT Mac app. This is the entry point for our Mac applications, which is using the menu bar. As you can see, it shows this error. It's interacting with ChatGPT because we have already renamed it. Okay, let's begin first. Before we fix that, let's begin by just declaring a stat for LLMConfig, the value of LLMConfig optional. And basically, in this menu bar extra, I'm going to, let's just fix this now. VM is interacting. Okay, I'm going to basically declare vstack as well. Okay, and then I'm going to put this current vstack inside the sheet. Let's declare a sheet modifier in here. And for the binding, I'm going to use LLMConfig as well. So actually, we don't need this parameter. So let's just declare it with the underscore, ignore it. Here, let me just cut this current vstack and put it inside the sheet view closure. Okay, there you go. We have this. I want to also update the head as well. Working on this to 648. Now, for the initial vstack, the first vstack, let's declare a hstack and let's declare a text and then assign it with the ViewModel, the title, and let's set the font to title and let's declare a spacer in here. So basically, I want to move this button, this close button, that will basically kill the app inside this initial vstack. Okay, the LLM provider selection. So below this hstack, let's add a padding modifier to this hstack. Okay, below this, let's declare a LLMConfigView, and then let's pass the onStart chart tab closure. In here, we can simply just update the client, passing the config.createClient, and also assign the LLMConfig with a new config. Okay, this will basically present the sheet containing the chat list view. Okay, inside this content view. Next is I want to declare a button to switch LLM inside this. But before we forget again, let's just also replace this with the vm.navigation title. Okay. So below the spacer, declare a button with the title role action. For the title, switch LLM role destructive. And in here, let's just set the LLM config to null, okay, to dismiss this shit and back to the LLM provider selection. Okay, I think to make this work, we also need to copy the frame in here, okay, because I have tested this. If we don't set the frame in here, this sheet itself will be incorrectly resized when we present it. Okay, so we need to declare this in both of the views, the root one and in the sheet as well. Now I think we can test this as well. Okay, so let's select the XCAssets ChatGPT Mac from the scheme in here, and then let's run it. So there you go. We have this. I think the button, the icon for this menu bar, we need to update this. It's look a bit weird because this is on the ChatGPT logo, right? So this is the code. So let's change the title first to vm.title. And for the image, let's update this as well to use, let's use the SF symbol. So let's use the system image parameter. And in here, let's use bubbles and sparkles. Okay, instead of using the ChatGPT symbol. There you go. This is the menu bar icon. And there you go. We have our application in here. So this is the, I think in here, let's add a bit of spacing. Maybe 16. Okay, I think, yeah, looks okay. Okay, as you can see, this is the LLM provider selection, LLMConfigView, and let's select Google PaLM, and let me copy my API key and paste in here. Let me just click Start Chat. Nice. So let's ask a question. Plan me a trip to Japan for 1 week. Okay, let's send. So I haven't added the cancellation support for the macOS, watchOS, and tvOS. I will do it in the next video as well. Okay, there is the response from the PaLM chat. Here's a possible itinerary for a 1 week trip to Japan. Day 1, day 2, day 3 until day 7. Nice, right? It's just working as good as the ChatGPT. Okay, this is amazing. Let's check this as Switch LLM. Okay, this also works now. Okay, that's it for the app integration for the PaLM chat with the LLM provider selection. Let me just stop the process. Okay, now let's work on the watchOS. Let's select XCAssets ChatGPT Watch app.swift. First thing is, instead of using the sheet presentation, I'm going to basically use the navigation stack push for this. So we need to use the new navigation stack API. So let's declare a state first, private var. And let me give it a name of %configs. It's going to be an array of LLM config. Okay, so initialize it with the empty array. And in here, we need to bind this navigation stack, passing the path. This is the binding of navigation path. You can simply use the %configs. Okay, so any new LLM config pushed to this stack will be basically pushed into the view as well, pushed into the navigation stack. Okay, don't forget to update this. vm.is interacting as well. Okay, let's try to build. Okay, it succeeded. Okay, now we need to select all of this content view. And what we need to do is, let's add a navigation title and then assign this with the vm.title, and then we need to use this navigation destination, okay, for LLMconfig.self. We already make LLMconfig conform to hashable, so it should work. So let's just ignore this parameter and then let's paste the previous code that we cut. Okay, I think it should work as expected. Now, inside this navigation stack root, let's just declare LLMConfigView on start chat tab. Let me update it, the parameter name to config, and in here you just inform vm.updateClient passing config.createClient to give us the LLM client instance based on the provider type, and then we need to invoke %configs.append, appending the config that we get from the parameter. Then it will push this content view, which is the chat list view, into the navigation stack. Okay, now we need to test this. Make sure to select XCAssets ChatGPT watch app. And for this simulator, I'm going to use the Apple Watch Ultra. So actually, to make the testing, inputting the API key easier for this demo for the watch app as well as tvOS, because inputting the API key can be a bit tricky because it doesn't have the keyboard. So let me just try to hard code it. Okay, let's go to the LLM config view. Okay, so only for this demo, I'm going to basically provide the default value for the API key in here using my PaLM API key. Okay, so basically I will remove this later when I commit this to the Git repository. Okay, just for the sake of testing, easier testing in watchOS and tvOS. Okay, now let's run this in the simulator. Okay, there you go. That's the API key, and this is the LLM provider. Let's select Google PaLM. Let's just start chat. Wow, what happened? There is nothing in the navigation. Let's see. I think this problem in here because we are putting the navigation stack. So actually, this should be in here. Okay, navigation title and this. Let's see. Navigation stack. Okay, we should put this navigation destination inside this LLMConfigView as the modifier. Okay. Okay. Well, on here I'm going to add a overlay as well. If vm.message is empty, I'm going to declare text, scroll to top, and tap send to chat. Else empty view. Maybe we don't need the else. Should work. Okay. Let's try again. Okay, we'll succeed it. Select Google PaLM. Start chat. Okay, nice. We have this message. Scroll to top and tap send to chat. Let's scroll. Okay, there is it. Our toolbar. Let me just type a simple message. Hello. Send. There you go. Hello there. How can I help you today? Okay, so that's the implementation for the watchOS target for the PaLM chat. Nice. Let's stop the simulator. Now let's move on to the final platform, which is the tvOS. Okay, for the tvOS, let's begin by declaring a state in here. LLM config with the type of LLM config optional. And then basically in this window group, let's declare a vstack with alignment of center. Okay. So in this vstack, I'm going to declare a text. I'm going to use vm.title to show the title, and then use the large title font. And then below that, I'm going to declare the LLM config view. In here, on start chat tab, let's invoke vm.updateClient passing $0 config.createClient, and then assign the LLM config with the config from the parameter. Okay, I'm going to set the frame to this to, I'm going to hardcode to 1280 1280. Okay, and I'm going to use the full screen cover binding with the LLM config. So in here, let's just ignore the parameter. I'm going to cut this, the previous VStack, put it inside the full screen cover. Let's face this is interacting with ChatGPT to use the new is interacting. Okay, let's try to build. Okay, build succeeded because the scheme is still watchOS. Let's change to TV, right? Okay, the build succeeded. Let's not forget to update this to use the vm.navigation title. And also there's one thing that we need to add because I already encountered this. Let's set the opacity. If the LLM config is nil, let's set the opacity of this LLM provider VStack with 1. Okay, it means we're going to show it. Otherwise, we're going to hide it using 0. So this full screen cover can be shown. I don't know, is it bug from SwiftUI, but it will work when we are going to test this. Okay, select the ChatGPT scheme and then select the tvOS simulator. Oh, there's one thing that I forget. I think we also need to add the switch LLM button in here. Okay, below this clear button, let's add a button. Give the name of switch LLM with the role of destructive. And in the closure, let's set the LLM config to nil so you can dismiss this full screen cover presentation. Let me add a padding vertical as well. Okay, forgot to do it. Now let's run and test in the simulator. Let me bring the simulator in here, set it to full screen. Okay, this is the LLM config view. Let's select Google PaLM, and there is the API key. Nice. Let's start chat. Okay, let's send a message. What is reflection in the sky? Send. Let's wait for the answer. Nice. There is the answer. Looks good. Reflection is the bouncing light of a surface. Nice. Let's test to switch the LLM. Click on this button. Okay, it brings us back to this LLM provider selection. Okay, so that's it for this video of integrating the PaLM Chat API to our existing ChatGPT app. So as you know, now our app is not only supporting ChatGPT, but it should support any LLM provider, LLM chatbot provider. Let's say in the future, maybe Meta release one to the public. We can also add this. Okay, and I will create a video for that as well. So that's it for this video. Like this video if you like it, subscribe if you haven't, and thanks for supporting me so far. And until the next one, let's keep on being a lifelong learner, and goodbye.